Sound has always trickled through my head. It only seemed right that I was to become a composer of serious music. I premiered my first piano sonata, subtitled Imagined Oceans, in 1930 at the Brisbane Town Hall. I was attempting to evoke the mystery of those enormous mythical inland lakes, as well as rub my 85-year-old stepmother's face in my creative genius. The audience walked out after 10 minutes. By the time I reached the closing chords 2 hours later, Cecilia appeared to be the only person left. Apart from myself, of course. As we left the hall, she turned and spat in my face. I maintained a demeanour of noble, if slightly pained equilibrium, which I knew, to my amusement, would only make her angrier. Our relationship was, if anything, consistent. I suppose that's what kept me with her, really. My arrival 30 years earlier to her household was, as Cecilia was fond of saying, the beginning of a prolonged period of the most aggravating discord. Well, she was, after all, my music teacher.
Dominate the keyboard. Fingers ready to attack. On the count of 3. 1, 2, and 3. And stop. We are only on C major and you've managed to give me a migraine. Again. 1, 2,
Cecilia! A student. Congratulations.
Eddie, do come and meet Stephen. Anne's little boy. Your nephew?
Oh.
You contracted food poisoning at the christening.
Yes, that's right.
Her husband, Dr. Edward Gibbons, spent his time in the basement performing autopsies on the bodies of children that had passed away at the orphanage. I don't think he quite knew what to make of me.
He exudes a curious odour.
Oh, Eddie, it's all so sordid. Anne is going to Germany to take the water cure. She should have left that man years ago. It's all in the letter. He hanged himself in the parlour.
Oh.
The boy had just returned from a piano lesson and saw his father swinging over an aspidistra. Not now, Stephen.
How long will it stay with us?
Try and accommodate him, Eddie. Pretend he is a patient.
I quickly became used to being talked about as if I were not there. In those days, children and other members of the lower class were socially invisible anyway. Maybe that's what first connected me to Lucy, the maid. She looked at me, and her looking made me feel real.
Lucy! Lucy! Cecilia, have you seen Lucy? I requested lime juice and an egg. She's probably charming a delivery boy.
By twittering as you please, sir. Were you to crack open her skull, you would find only seed cake recipes and a sort of doggerel.
Lucy!
Now, the first time I saw Lucy, her eyes kept darting over to me. I could see she was suppressing the urge to smile.
Oh, I did not know you had guests.
I think you'll find he's more a species of boarder or similar irritant. I did ring the bell some time ago, Lucy.
Oh, Mr. Mortine was just telling me a funny story about a corpse whose moustache he was waxing.
Downstairs in the clinic?
Yes?
Forget the lime juice and egg. It'll be a delivery from the orphanage. I require tone syrup. Quickly, and no interruption.
As you please, Dr. Gibbons. Ma'am, if I may, he looks hungry.
The time for breakfast has passed. Now pay attention, girl. The guest room must be aired, the sheets changed, a small fireguard purchased, and drawn a bath.
As you please, Ma'am.
Cecilia insisted on both being present during my bath and scrubbing me with an enthusiasm that, even then, felt inappropriate.
Keep still. If only we were all blessed with the tenacity of filth.
Oh, look at him. He's such a fragile thing. Oh, madam, you can see all the bones in his back.
His mother is a firm believer in obscure European dietary therapies. I believe she characterizes herself as a vegetarian.
Oh, goodness me. Oh, no wonder he smells.
Don't splash the water so much.
Better not eat a fishbone, mister, or it will stick out of your ribs. Are you allowed to eat fish, mister? Oh, you look like one. A little flathead.
Shy. Which reminds me, those flowers this morning were addressed to you. Is there something deliciously important that you should be telling me?
No, well, yes and no. Shall we wash his hair? Oh, isn't he beautiful?
Truth in,
I think he likes me.
he likes bonbons. All children do. I read about it in a periodical. They become addicted to boiled lollies and go mad. I must get Eddie to give him some. It will assist their conversations. Now, as to your meaning of yes and no?
Oh, it's all so difficult, Mum. Well, it's just that, well, my mister wants to settle down.
Settle down. Stephen. Now we shall attempt your ears. Eddie has always been unstable. My philandering Eddie. He respects me too much to reproach me on any subject now. I am a plaster of Paris Madonna that reminds him to pay into the poor box when he enters church.
Oh, with the greatest respect, Mum, you do not appear that miserable.
Give me the soap, for heaven's sake. There is nothing more irritating than respectability, Lucy. A respectable lady is tolerant. A respectable lady maintains appearances. There. We have attained cleanliness, Stephen. Now we may attempt godliness.
It's not your fault Dr. Edward has urges. He's only a man.
I beg your pardon. Dress the boy quickly and kill something for dinner. Stephen, it is now time to practice. Follow my fingers. This is by J.S. Bach, Stephen. So simple you could play it with 2 fingers. Bach had 18 children, Stephen. Follow my fingers. Anna, his lovely wife, was a devoted and fertile creature who was always treated with the utmost respect by her very spiritual and considerate husband. Are you listening?
I started to feel a small fountain in my chest, a cascading glow coursing through my veins, an elation as if the sky were flooding my skull. It was the music.
Listen. Wrists stiff. Lucy will give you some stale bread after your lesson. Lucy? Oh, does anyone in this house listen?
Dr. Gibbons, on the other hand, did endeavour to entertain me, though I sensed he welcomed any distraction from conversational duties.
Oh, where is everybody? Stephen. Oh, I'm hot. You could have fried an egg out there on Queen Street. The brim of my hat soaked through and it stuck to my head when I tried to lift it to a passing gentlewoman. Lucy, come here.
Sir?
You've seen my wife.
She requested not to be disturbed, sir.
Stephen, Lucy will take you to bed and tell you a story. And you make sure you come straight back, you hear?
Yes, sir.
I know things are a little different now. Bit of a kiss, for old time's sake.
Sir? Look how solemn he is.
He's listening.
The first time I met Vivian Mortine, rumoured to be Brisbane's busiest undertaker and purveyor of corpses, he gave me a present.
Now, boy, can you guess what I have for you? Can you? Good, open it up. Doesn't it have a lovely smell? This book is about faraway places, the most distant and interesting outreaches of Her Majesty's realm, Stephen. India, New Zealand. Look, Eskimos. They rub their noses together instead of shaking hands and eat whale blubber for tea instead of roast beef. Oh, Lucy.
Last night was amazing.
A definite contact.
But who, though?
I could barely make out the message.
I felt as if I were on fire.
Plasmatic energy.
I could have ripped off my clothes and danced like a Maenad.
Oh, Lucy. Oh, darling Lucy. Oh, her ladyship. Best not tell her I came up. A little secret, eh, Stephen? I also have a book on Zulus you may be interested in. They are the tallest people in the world and celebrate weddings by jumping up and down on the spot. They do not have pianos, and they drink the blood of their cows. Well, I'll see you tomorrow, young man. Christmas is upon us. Goodbye, Lucy.
I awoke on Christmas Day and ran to see what present had arrived. Dr. Gibbons gave me a tin of boiled lollies. Lucy gave me a small metronome. Cecilia's gift was, of course, another music lesson. I realised that though she advertised her services as an accredited pianoforte teacher, familiar with both French and Germanic styles, and available for instruction 6 days a week, I was her only student. I spent the rest of the morning looking forward to Vivian's arrival for lunch. I decided to hide under the piano, ready to catch him unawares. But as it turned out, I was the one to receive the surprise.
We can talk here. There's no one in the music room.
Dr. Gibbons walked in, followed closely by Cecilia. She was pale. I held my breath.
Now, what is it you wanted to talk about? I've got bodies waiting, you know.
I've had news from Mother regarding Anne. She contracted pneumonia in Wiesbaden.
Oh. Well, German water cures are lethal. I've written a monograph on the subject, you know.
Eddie, she's dead. I barely knew her, Eddie. Now I never can.
You don't expect me to allow Stephen to stay?
I have learnt not to expect anything from you, Eddie. It is a way of avoiding disappointment.
I understood, the same way I knew a tune could be gleaned from a keyboard, that my mother had not wanted me with her. Now I was on my own. I decided to observe a minute's silence. What to do with the rest of my life could wait. But my grief was to be interrupted.
Welcome, Mr. Mortine. Lunch will be commencing shortly.
Where is young Stephen? I have presents.
He's hiding. He wants to surprise you. We've had the most awful news. Stephen has most certainly gone.
Oh, where? India? Araby, perhaps? What about Egypt?
He said he would go on a magic carpet. It's not in the hallway anymore.
Well, he knows he's not allowed to fly through the air before eating.
Do you think he has returned?
Lucy, come help me search under the piano.
Oh, Master Stephen! Oh, what's the matter? We're here to rescue you.
It is like the darkest Africa down here, only dustier. Stephen?
I told everyone I had a migraine. Cecilia accused me of fabricating affectations and insisted I endure roast beef and Christmas pudding. The temperature was at least 110 degrees in the shade. I was in hell.
Lucy, more rum. I haven't had to unbutton my shirt yet, eh?
We attended a gala for the orphanage. They had to keep the doors and windows open to prevent the audience from suffocating.
So, Vivian, I believe there's been another death down there. Scrofula.
Indeed, Eddie.
Arranged to have the body delivered to my surgery as usual. Lucy, more wine.
Eddie.
God save the Queen.
God save the
God
Queen.
save the Queen. Eddie, I don't like surprises when I'm sipping liquids. So wicked.
Primitive see it as a sign of appreciation. Hey, Lucy, you will recharge your glasses. Go on, all of you. May as well toast the rest of the royal family.
God bless them.
God bless them.
There was a young soprano singing Mozart. She was a vision of purity. Have I told you, Stephen? Mozart was much abused as a child and made to work by his debauched father like a common prostitute.
Lucy!
A common prostitute.
Coming, sir.
Stephen, it is wicked to refuse what is provided. There are piccaninnies who would shed tears of gratitude for one morsel from your plate.
He must miss his parents.
Oh.
Where is Lucy? I ordered more rump. She appears to be more in absentia than in service these days.
Indeed, Eddie.
Lucy!
I'm sorry, sir. I was diverted in the kitchen.
You have been away during the evenings of late, Lucy. I imagine you're mysterious gentleman.
Add some jellied tongue, there's a good girl.
Well, Mum, there's not that much that is mysterious, really. In a manner of speaking, that is. I have simply been attending seances with Vivian.
Lucy?
I mean, Mr. Mortine.
You took her to our...
I couldn't see the harm.
We do more than experiment with dead people. We converse with them.
Think you're better than me, Vivian? Eh? Well, cheers.
He is your caller. Your mister.
Lucy, retire. I'll pour the wine.
As you please, sir.
Stephen, you may leave the table. There is no need to kiss anyone.
I did as I was told, of course, but I hid behind the door. The thought of disobeying Cecilia frightened me, but I had to know what they were going to do to her. I saw the look in Lucy's eyes. She was in danger.
How can you squander your time on a creature like that? She thinks Melbourne is a type of toast.
Oh, Cecilia.
She is simply not in your class. She is a servant. You are an undertaker. An inappropriate marriage is worse than death.
I concur with that diagnosis.
That's right. Vivian, you'd be making a mockery of everything we stand for.
I beg your pardon?
More rump, Eddie.
I drifted through the afternoon, dazed from heat and pudding and the shock of realising I was alone, except for Lucy, who tucked me in that night. She told me about a young princess who cried so much her tears turned into a silver lake in which her tormentors drowned. Then she hugged me.
Stephen. Stephen, listen. I may have to leave here soon. Don't say anything and don't be sad. I love you. Now put your head back on the pillow. Wherever I am, I will think of you. My thoughts will reach across time. They will reach across space and touch you like this. Just for a moment. Only for a moment, my dear, but I will never leave you.
For the first time since the news of my mother's death, I began to breathe. I wanted to tell Lucy how much she meant to me, but all I could think to ask her was whether it was true that Melba was a type of toast.
Shut your eyes. If you shut your eyes tightly, the stars from your soul will float to the surface. Their tiny gold hearts will beat in time with mine.
The next day, Cecilia summoned me to the music room as usual. Her mood was a mixture of irritation and grandiloquence. She looked at me as if I were a stain to be scrubbed. Like all children, though, I had a limitless capacity to tolerate the strangeness of adults.
Stephen, you must always endeavour to invoke the spirit of the piece, as well as play the notes accurately. Oh, enough! I have prayed for your improvement, but the recipient of all pleadings, God, is either deaf or chooses not to listen. Follow my fingers. Have I told you Bach had 18 children, Stephen? Worse than an orphanage. Imagine that. A house full of bodies. Imagine that.
She seemed to freeze. Her eyes were remote. I sensed something visionary about her, and also something terribly wrong. It was as if she was communing with another world. That night, I had the strangest dream. And when I awoke, I knew Lucy was gone. Forever. Dr. Gibbons discovered her, face down in the bath. He carried her down the staircase in his arms. Her head hung back, water dripped from her hair. Her neck was white and helpless. I watched through a sheet of hot tears.
I allowed the water to drain through small punctures I made in her back. She drowned in a foot of water.
She must have been drugged. I often saw her near the medicine cabinet. What will you write on the death certificate?
Death by misadventure.
Of course.
And so there was silence in the house, a silence that magnified the hollowness of our presence. Cecilia retreated to her bedroom. Sometimes I would observe her staring into space, her hands obsessively playing over her hair. Dr. Gibbons retreated to his basement. The only person I felt comfortable talking with was Vivian. I requested from him a book regarding the supernatural. His response was to invite me to a séance. I was terrified but excited beyond imagination. There were so many people I wanted to talk with.
Good, Stephen. Glad to see you could make it. Just the right weather for this kind of thing, eh? Do come through.
I followed him through the hallway, my heart pounding. As we entered the sitting room, I was horrified to see Cecilia sitting at the head of the table. Without taking her eyes off me, she said,
Vivian, why is there an extra place at the table?
I have invited a guest.
Always too watchful for my liking.
I'll dim the lights. Now, are we all holding hands? Good. Blow out the candles. Clear your minds. It is time to think of loved ones.
Vivian's hands were freezing. Cecilia saw my nervousness.
Do not move. He has fallen in the way. I have seen this state before. His body will soon be a conduit for the dreams of the departed. Can you hear me, Vivian?
Vivian's head turned to one side, as if responding to a tap on the shoulder. Then I perceived in him an odd stillness. As if transfixed by some extraordinary vision, he had turned to stone. When I next heard his voice, there was no perceptible movement of his lips.
I am wet.
The hair stood on the back of my neck.
Oh, God.
I felt a sickening fear that I had been transported to another place, not of this world.
I speak
from underneath sheets of black water.
It was Lucy. There was no question of it.
Wake him up. He has had enough.
Taken before my time, Mom.
Shut up!
How could you, Mom? How could you?
No!
How could you take me away from everyone? Vivian, I can barely feel you. Shut your eyes. Shut your eyes.
He convulsed. I thought he would die. I gripped his hand tightly. I was desperate to hear her voice again. Vivian, thankfully, seemed to breathe normally.
Now,
I had lost her once more.
are we all thinking of loved ones? Why are you looking at me like that?
The séance is over. Stephen, you will never attend one of these gatherings again. There is many a mischievous spirit ready to upset the plans of the living, given half the chance. And I believe it is your untutored presence here that invited one such phantasm into our company. That was not Lucy, whatever you may imagine.
We heard from Lucy.
Silence!
It's true, isn't it? Stephen?
Silence!
No! Silence yourself, Cecilia. That's right. Yes, you keep silent. You know, you're not half the lady Lucy was. She had a soul. And she was here.
So, that was that. I didn't see Vivian again. I heard he'd sold his business and moved on. Dr. Gibbons received no more deliveries of children and turned to performing autopsies on small animals while writing meticulous notes which were shown to no one. He died after spending a week in his basement drinking gin and dissecting rats. As Cecilia receded into solitude, I became absorbed in music, and in the process discovered that, contrary to her convictions, the path I had chosen was the right one. Music was a way of making sense of all the memories. I knew Cecilia had drowned Lucy, but no one could prove it. In the end, Cecilia was always a prisoner of herself anyway, and my presence has only intensified her misery, particularly when I play her piano. As I said, our relationship is, if anything, consistent. So, for now, I shut my eyes tightly and play on, dreaming of a place where somewhere, caught somewhere in gentle waves of music, I still feel the spirit of my beloved Lucy.